You're listening to Ship Fam. On today's episode, we talk to Mike Jones, also known as CodingMarine, about his outdoors and adventure-oriented Flutter indie apps. As always, review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us at KCC Rogers and at Luke_Paghetti on Twitter.
How about now? Am I any better now? I should be.
Yeah, that's better. That feels a lot better.
Okay. I think my mic is running CloudStrike is what's happening.
Oh, yeah, probably.
That's definitely what's going on.
It's a Windows microphone, I guess.
It's a Windows microphone. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, you can see through it.
Well, apparently they bricked Red Hat also a couple months ago, but nobody noticed.
They're just breaking shit left and
They're
right,
just bricking stuff left and right. And then I guess Elon Musk just the other day was like, yeah, we just deleted CloudStrike from all of our companies.
Yeah, CrowdStrike.
Is it CrowdStrike? I always get...
It's CrowdStrike.
Are you kidding me? CrowdStrike. CloudStrike makes more sense.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think that's the pun. I think they're making a pun.
I don't know. Bad name, apparently bad product. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, all the people that affected with all the flights and this mayhem.
It's insane.
Yeah, I was in the middle of nowhere doing absolutely nothing, so it didn't affect me at all.
I mean, the exact same. I didn't even notice, and a couple friends were messaging me, yo, you've been hearing about this? I'm like,
and you're like,
right
don't
now.
know, don't care. Literally in the middle of nowhere in a cabin.
Yeah.
My normal job deals with the airlines. I was like, today's going to be an interesting day.
That's awesome.
Well, that's a good segue. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us what you're working on, what you do, and all that, and we'll just launch right into it.
Name's Mike Jones. I currently right now work at a satellite communications company, and I work with bringing internet to basically all the major airlines around the world. So in-flight Wi-Fi, things like that.
So wait, are you the reason why things are terrible, or are you the reason why things are getting better? That's what I want to know.
The reason why things are getting better.
Okay, totally. Awesome.
But yeah, so I manage a global team, and we just deal any aircraft that's either flying dark or degraded. My team's kind of the first line of defense, trying to bring them back online, working with the airlines there. And then in college, I was an IT major, so dabbled in a little bit of programming, really enjoyed it, and then went into the Marine Corps after that, so didn't do much programming at all for about 5 years. But I was a communications officer, so I was working all with single channel radio, satellites, and so kind of in the tech side of things. And then, during the pandemic, I started trying to get back into coding a little bit, started teaching myself Flutter, took a couple courses, and released a really crappy finance app where I was just testing out how to do things.
Oh, you've got 3 apps. I thought you only had 2. Or do you have more?
3, but I got a couple more in the works.
In the pipeline, yeah.
I don't really talk about the finance one. That one I would describe as maybe a kid with a crayon and a coloring book trying to get something to work.
I love that.
But it was fun. And then my main ones, don't forget the spoon.
Yeah.
Which built for me and my wife because we love to backpack, go hiking, and we're really good at forgetting things like spoons on our backpacking trips, and sitting in the middle of Yosemite in the winter, freezing, trying to get a hot meal and realizing we didn't have spoons. It's gonna fix this with an app, and that's kind of where we went from there.
That's awesome. I just want to say, I think that comms officers are low-key based engineers, because we hired our first junior when I was working at Tonal, and he was a comms officer in the South Korean Army, and he showed up and he was just an absolute monster, just a total monster from day one. And so I think the comms officers are low-key awesome engineers.
So it's funny you say that, because I saw a tweet from, I think it was Miguel from Revenue Cat, was talking about something about hiring executives, and you just need someone who can eat shit 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
And I commented on there, I'm get a communications officer, because we're just setting up networks in the middle of the desert, and people are expecting fiber optic connectivity on a 1 meg pipe, and you just get punched in the face all day of why is this so slow? It's oh my god, it's physics, man. I can't do anything about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, how'd you end up getting started with Flutter? Did you go through and check out React Native Dev, and then so on, and pick Flutter, or?
No, going way back in college, I started with, was like the one where you use like HTML and JavaScript.
Is that React Native? Or
Yeah,
is
React
that
Native.
like Cordova or something like that?
It was Cordova.
Cordova, yeah.
So I had like an app way back in the day called Beer Portfolio. That's like a whole
Wait,
other
beard
story.
portfolio?
Beer.
Oh, I
beer
thought you
as
said
in,
beard
like,
as in like
no.
the thing that grows on your face.
But wait. I have to know what beer portfolio is. Is it just like tracking?
Yeah, between
what
the
beers
two,
drunk,
you've got
or
like
what
your
are we-
target demographic on both sides. Like Casey with the beer and me with the beard. So either way, you're good.
So if Casey likes craft beer, you know about Untapped, right?
No, I
You know
don't.
that
I
little
drink
app
shitty
where-
beer. I like beer, but
Okay.
shitty beer. More for the alcohol than anything else.
My app was more geared toward probably the craft beer fan club.
Gotcha.
But essentially, you could rate the beers you've had and like it'd keep track of all of it. And then you could go into a store, look up a beer, and it'll give you like a recommendation on what it thinks you would like it.
Nice.
Based on previous recommendations. It took a whole bunch of different attributes like styles, ABV, bitterness units into account. And then you could look up a beer and see other people's like ratings on it to see if you'd want it or not. But it kind of skewed the results. So like if you were an IPA type drinker and drank a light beer and rated it like a 1, your rating would be like less weighted because you're not really like a light beer guy. Yeah. It was fun.
That's
I
pretty
keep
cool.
thinking
Did it
of
work out
bringing
though?
it- No, not really. So mostly because I had a handful of fans and it was really niche. But I was in the Marine Corps at the time, and I remember being on deployment on a ship, and I couldn't really work on it. And I had to renew my SSL certificate. I didn't have it set to auto renewing. And I remember like getting off a ship in Hong Kong and going to hotel and Wi-Fi trying to renew my SSL
That's
certificate,
hilarious.
like, in the corner of the lobby, and I was like, I don't have time for this right now. So
Dude,
Yeah,
SSL
I
certs just
sunsetted
like kill
that.
businesses left and right. It's really funny.
oh yeah.
You know what you
But,
remind me of with that app is there's this app called Vivino, and
Yep.
you're familiar with this guy. He like has a YouTube channel now where he talks about mobile app entrepreneurship as like a general topic.
I'll have to check that out. I like the app.
But it
guess-
sounds like something similar to what you were attempting.
Yeah, his is much more advanced, taking pictures of them. You could do QR codes in mine. That was about it.
Do you think there's ever like a future for that? Like now that you've done other apps and have a little more experience, do you ever get the urge to like reboot it?
Oh, yeah, I have a huge urge to reboot it. I think I could code it a lot quicker now, too. The amount of time that probably took me to make is probably... It started as a website, and then I pushed into Cordova and went from there.
Do you have fans you could revive, or are they just long gone?
It's probably long gone, to be honest. Yeah. But to your question about... That was a long way to answer how I got onto Flutter, but you could say I'm a bit of a Google fanboy, so I just figured I'd try it out, and... It was pretty simple to pick up for like someone who hadn't really coded in 5+ years, and it came quick. So, not that I'd say I'd be like close to an expert at all, super newbie coder, but it's been fun. And even my wife like is picking it up now just for fun, and she's an electrical engineer, and she's been using it at work as well, at like her day job. So
Well, if she's an electrical engineer, then that means that she can do anything, basically. So
Yeah,
electrical
pretty much.
engineers, I don't want to joke about this because it's your wife, but I'll say with my friends who are electrical engineers, I always joke with them that like they are just good enough at everything that they can pretend to do everything, and most of the time they can actually do it, and that's like unique to electrical engineers. So I feel like if anyone can pick up work on something like this, it would be an electrical engineer.
oh yeah, her ears are probably ringing.
I should also say that as someone who went to mechanical engineering school, we're even worse. Like, so we're like the worst of all of them when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would always piss off my mechie buddies in college because I hung out with that crowd. I'd tell them they were non-software engineers.
Well, it's funny because so many of them end up being software engineers. Like either they end up in like control systems, or they're like, screw this, I'm going to become a software engineer because it's way easier. You make like 2 times to 3 times more money.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe not with the job market now. Maybe we all got to switch back to mechie.
Yeah, this is like pre like just like 6 months ago. That's what I'm talking about. Pre 6 months ago.
All right, Mike, why don't you jump into it and just break down Don't Forget the Spoon for us? And I know you've got a couple other apps we can chat about too, but I'd love to just start there. Like, you already talked about, came up with the idea because you guys kept forgetting stuff backpacking. What exactly does the app do?
So not sure how much into hiking or backpacking you guys are, but like in the Reddit hiking community, there is like this cult favorite tool called Lighter Pack, and it's
Hmm.
literally a website where people put in the gear, they manually enter what their gear is, and it creates like a little circle color chart and basically shows you like what categories your weight is in. And there's a Reddit community where people basically go in there and like, how can I drop like my pack weight?
Yep.
Is this like ultralight, lightweight, like
Yeah.
midweight? Are there like classes that like these things fit into, or how do they have it figured out?
So the big subreddits are ultralight, and I'll have to say I'm like not the ultralight person at all. I have
Yeah.
some ultralight gear,
You
but
don't
it's
have
only
like a tie.
because
You don't like. Not everything is made out of Tyvek and stuff like that. Like that's not your.
yeah,
That's not
yeah.
your style.
I'm a huge Dyneema
Yeah.
fan and
Right.
like a huge Hyperlight Mountain Gear fan. But like I go light so I can bring like 8 pounds of photography gear because I really like
Nice.
photography. So if I posted my pack in like that ultralight Reddit, I would just get like skewered alive and just like destroyed. So I don't do that. But I kind of lighter pack's awesome, but it hasn't really gone anywhere in years, and I just wanted something with a more that you could do. So not just like entering your gear one by one, I made like a gear locker so that you could enter in all your gear once, and you can make unlimited packs from it and just drop that gear into different packs. And then I wanted it not just to focus on like making your pack light. My main thing at first was don't forget anything. So you can swipe the items as you're packing your pack, and it'll show you like how much percent packed you are so you don't forget anything. And then lastly, I've wanted it to focus a little bit more on helping like new people get into backpacking and
Hmm.
hiking because you see tons of Reddit comments and posts of, hey, like, can you look at my lighter pack? Like, what am I forgetting? So I
Yeah.
recently added a tool on my app, Don't Forget the Spoon, that'll basically look through your pack and say like, "Hey, you are not bringing this. Like, I recommend you bring this item as well because it looks like you're going on this type of adventure."
Yeah. I
How are
mean,
you
have
doing
you
that? Is that
thought?
just like a bunch of if-then statements, or are you
Yeah,
using AI
pretty
or something?
much.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because
I
so many algorithms, like famous algorithms from the last 10 years, have just been if-then statements, essentially.
I feel like AI would have been way overkill for it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm wondering, have you explored like brand sponsorships or anything like that? Because that feels like a pretty obvious hook in for like, hey, you could get this and it'll weigh like 10% less or something like that.
So yes, I have a few brands that I have some connections with. One of them
Nice.
actually up by your way, Luke, Hyperlight Mountain Gear. I
Oh,
think they're up
interesting.
in Maine area, but I've done some photography for them on trips. I've gotten a bunch of like
Oh,
free gear from
awesome.
them. So I got contacts there. And to your point, it's on the roadmap, Casey, and
Yep.
like one of my latest releases just created so you can make usernames in the app,
Nice.
and that's kind of on the road to allow like a company like Hyperlight to make a business account on there. But uh, early stages, but not quite there yet. All have just
Yeah.
been like B2C type right now, and I'd like to get some B2B to tie in where they can like not normal advertisements that are like spammy, but maybe helpful advertisements.
Yep.
But maybe that's a glass half full type
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Now, do you
How?
have like Amazon links that people can post in? And
Yep.
are you able to like, have you considered, I don't know if you already are, but injecting an Amazon Associates tag into those Amazon links?
So right now, users can't put their own links on gear, but I can add links to their gear for them. Or I have a community gear locker that essentially. So one of like the barriers to entry for that for like a user is you got to enter in all your gear, and that can take a while to weigh all the items. So people that do enter gear, they can mark it as public, and then I screen it before it's live for everybody. And then those ones I add Amazon links to, or I have affiliate links with like REI and some other big
Yeah.
names
Nice.
out there. So I can add those. And if they search them in the community database to add to their gear locker, then it'll have all the links there for them.
Okay, so you are getting affiliate on those links you add to these items. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
The one issue I have right now that I'm pretty sure there's a solution for it. I've just been too lazy is So before the app, I actually started like an outdoor blog, and I have a lot of Amazon affiliate links on there, and it's the same affiliate code on there on the app. So I really have
Oh,
no
you can't
idea if I'm
tell where it's coming
getting
from.
more affiliate revenue from the app or from the website, other than Amazon affiliate's really interesting. You can see what people buy. You can't like equate it to a user, but you can actually see like the products people buy that got you the money. And
And sometimes
looking
it's
at that,
unrelated too, right? Like I had this one time I
yeah,
had an affiliate link up for a calculator, and some guy was looking for a calculator for his school, and he went and he looked at the calculator, and then he went and bought like 10 MacBooks on
yeah,
Amazon, and I got the affiliate for these 10 MacBooks. It was like $300.
nice,
It was like completely
nice,
unrelated.
nice.
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah. So that's how I kind of see like my unscientific way to see if it's the app or the website, because the website has some specific equipment that I know. Like there's like a waterproof pouch that has done really well for me, so I can see that. But yeah,
Do you have a sense of like top line numbers that you're happy to share, like DAOs or monthly active users and revenue, so on?
it's a really interesting app for daily active users because
Yeah.
it's really an app you might use like once a month maybe.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that might
Yep.
be on the high side.
Yeah.
Really averaging right now around like 40 people a day, maybe six to 700
Decent.
people a month on the app. Yeah.
So 600 to 700 a month.
Yep. And then revenue cat wise, this also includes my weather app, but I only have a couple subscribers on that.
Nice. Yeah.
But like average MRR for that's like $50 a month right now
That's for the
Gotcha.
weather or for both of them together?
for both of them together. But I'd say 98% of that is don't forget the spoon.
Got it.
Yep.
No,
That's-
I'd seen you post something recently that you had quite a few subscriptions. Like, don't you have something like 100 plus user
I have
subscriptions?
about 90 right now.
90, yeah, that makes
subscriptions.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have, so I have a yearly option, and then I also have like an unlimited option too. And I do get a handful of unlimited purchases as well, just like the one-time payment. And I've slowly been racketing that price up. I think it's at like $50-ish right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And as I've keep ratcheting it up and to try and get more people into the yearly subscriptions, and I finally I think got to the point where I've slowed down the like the one-time purchases and starting to funnel people to keep into the yearly subscriptions there.
So, out of curiosity, how did you come to the decision to raise the lifetime as opposed to lower the yearly? Because I know that's a tension that a lot of founders feel when they're trying to decide which way they want to go with their pricing.
I actually raised both.
Okay.
So I started the yearly at, I've been seeing some renewals come in from like the original subscriber. That started at like
Nice.
$3.99 a year. So like super low.
$3.99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So started at super low, and I've never really slowed down on people subscribing. It's usually like average one or two a week, and I've just slowly ramped it up to see if it'd slow down. And I'm at $7.99 a year right now.
Yeah.
Which is still
I'd roll-
super cheap, like crazy.
Yeah.
So wait, hang on. You're $7.99 a year, but $50 lifetime,
Yep.
and people are still buying the lifetime.
It's just started to slow down probably this past month.
What's the
lifetime.
ratio?
That's a wild
between
ratio.
those?
That's like 4-1. Oh, sorry. But the price ratio, that's like more. That's like 6-1, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and what's the ratio of like lifetime subscribers to yearly subscribers?
That I don't know off the top of my head.
Could you guess like 50-50?
I'd say 60-70% at this point are yearly subscribers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I was
that
to
makes
guess
sense.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
you're-
trying to be prescriptive, but like my first thought is I wonder what would happen if you went to 15 a year and then down to like $30 on the lifetime. So to like get the annual a little higher, and then bring the lifetime down closer to like a 2-1 or like 1.5-1
Yeah.
ratio.
I was shocked people were paying $50 for the
And
lifetime.
that's my other takeaway is like I'm thinking about adding lifetime to my apps, and I was expecting to have to do 1.5x or 2x.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have imagined in a million years that 6x would work. And so maybe it's possible that I just don't fully appreciate how much people prefer lifetime
and hate
over subscriptions. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit more now.
Yeah, I mean, it may be specific to your users too, because it is the kind of use case that's not a daily thing. It's every once in a while you're gonna need a trip, and you don't want to be spending monthly if in like 4 months you might need a trip. So in that context, lifetime might feel better even if the pricing is actually kind of bad for lifetime.
That's why I also don't have like a monthly or weekly and just keep it as a yearly. So you just kind of have it set, and you can be like, all right, maybe I'll use that for, a couple trips a year.
I'm also wondering if the kind of people who are going hiking a lot are so used to buying hardware that they're used to buying something once. And so then when it comes to software, the option to buy once feels more natural. Because Casey, you and I were talking about this a little bit on a private call about this idea of like a hardware-based hobby or like a hardware-based market, asking them to buy software. Maybe they want something that feels more like hardware and feels more like they're buying something once.
Yeah. I'm wondering, this is a slightly different topic, how is LiDAR monetizing, or are they monetizing at all? And do you have a sense of how you want to eat into their market share?
So LiDAR they don't monetize at all. It's a completely free service. Yeah.
The bastards.
Which is why I started the price so small, because I realized like there's a couple other competitors out there too, and I think I'm one of the only like real app focused ones. And then I also use the web aspect of Flutter as well. So there is like a beta version of like a web sign in. But yeah, they're not monetizing at all, which is why I made the decision to start the price so low, because I'm like, I'm going to try and sell something where there's a completely free competitor out there. Like, let's just see how it goes and slowly ramp it up.
Do your customers ever like talk about LiDAR and your app and compare them? And do you have a sense of how they view the two in comparison?
Yeah, so customers very positive, and I'll get to maybe some Reddit trash too on the side. Yeah, no,
I would love to talk Reddit.
But so a lot of my users, like, the reviews have all been really well, people who like it. And I think like one of the reviews on iOS, someone wrote like, I've always wanted an app version of LiDAR, like this is what I want.
Nice.
Cool.
Because LiDAR isn't optimized for mobile essentially. I think I'm completely biased, but I think it's easier to pack your pack when you have it on your phone than like running back and forth.
Oh yeah, totally.
All your gear on the floor. So I've gotten like really good reviews. People who love it. People who try it really liked it. I got a small Reddit community where people post bugs like just for the app or feature ideas. So I'm pretty like chatty with them. I'd say one of the biggest complaints about LiDAR is the developer, I think, has gone off the grid for a while, and so like if there's issues, like they don't get fixed right away, where like I'm like fixing an issue an hour or like within 24 hours if someone reports it. But yeah, going back to like Reddit, so when I first posted about my app in the ultralight Reddit, where it's kind of like a LiDAR cult, I absolutely destroyed like, why would you do this, like blah blah blah, like it's awful, da da da. Someone was like, I think the best complaint I got, someone was complaining about like the order in which I ordered gear. I think I had it like ordered alphabetically by default, and it was before I had a setting where you could order by like weight or alphabetical. Yeah. And the dude was complaining about it being sorted alphabetically. He's like, that's useless. Why would you do that? And he had like a link to his LiDAR in his profile, and I clicked it, and his gear wasn't ordered in any like meaningful way at all.
That's really
He's
funny.
He's just complaining to complain at this point, like whatever. But
so okay, so here's my thing with Reddit, right? About 10 years ago, I had an e-commerce business in the audiophile space, and there was a subreddit that was super, super into this stuff. And I showed up and I started posting about the stuff that I was working on, and people were like stoked. They were like, at that time, they were just so happy to have any kind of business that was engaging with any Reddit community. And then at some point in the last few years, it has completely changed, where my experience now is that if businesses post on subreddits, they just get flamed essentially. And I'm wondering if you like agree with my assessment there, and how you, because it sounds like now, we haven't talked about it yet, but it sounds like now you're like pretty well received on there, and like what that transition looked like for you.
So Reddit, it's funny because like in Build in Public on Twitter, I just see people posting left and right like I just got destroyed on Reddit,
Yeah.
and like knock on wood, I've done really well. I think I've only been banned from like one Reddit for posting,
Nice.
one subreddit. I think a little bit of it's like there's a couple factors that tie into that. One of them is I made a post on this on Twitter the other day. I had my 17-year cake day on Reddit. So my
Yeah.
Reddit account's been around for
A long
17
time.
years. So it's clearly not like someone created an account just to like spam business stuff over there. Then also, I kind of mentioned earlier, I had a blog that like me and my wife will post trip reports on that are just like detailed backpacking trip reports. And those, there's quite a handful of communities I can post those in, and people are looking for like those types of guides. And then in the blog post, like I obviously like on my own blog advertise my own app pretty easily. Um, but with that, I also, with those blog posts, when I post on there, I mentioned earlier I do a lot of photography. So I post a lot of photos on Reddit too, and those get like a lot of views, and I'll use that to maybe post some links as well. Other than that, I do spend a whole lot of time in the Reddits that I regularly post to, and just communicating, helping people. I like talking about backpacking, hiking, like helping people out. So I think maybe moderators give me like a little bit of leeway
Yeah,
there.
because you're actually
And
active.
Yeah, I know,
and
I know the first thing people do when you post a business post on a board is they run through your profile and see your
Yeah.
previous posts. So if you've got a well-established history of posting without ulterior motive,
I think
it
that's
goes
the
a super
key.
long way.
I think that's the
Yeah.
key, is if you're actually like genuinely engaging and you have an app, then they're probably going to be okay with it. But if you just come out of nowhere like Batman and just like drop an
Yeah.
app in the middle of their subreddit, then they're probably going to be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing?
I found also it may be kind of counterintuitive, but I think I've recently done better on Reddit comments and replies and actually creating my own Reddit post. So there's lots of posts from other people or other comments like looking for help, having to like plan a backpacking trip. And that's where I can kind of come in a little bit like Batman out of the woods and just kind of reply there.
Yeah.
And not sure if you're familiar with the tool F5bot at all.
No, not at all.
Super helpful. It's completely free too, which is another awesome thing for indie developers. But you can basically create an account on there and create keywords, and it scans Reddit and some other websites. I only use it for Reddit. So I have some like strings that I look for where people either, if they like type in
Nice.
lighter pack, it'll email me, or if they're typing in something like
Amazing.
how do I plan a trip, what do I bring, I have a whole different strings to look for in there, and I basically just get my emails. I'm getting emails like 40 times a day from F5bot, and I can just go in and I see their posts and just respond like, hey. And recently one of my Reddit replies got like 200 upvotes and went viral.
Nice.
And on Google, I jumped like 300 active devices within 24 or 48 hours for Don't Forget the Spoon, just from like that one comment reply, which was awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had this one app where somebody had made a YouTube video. A random person had asked a question in a comment, and then I responded with like, hey, I use this app, and it was like an app that I had, and that drove like $200 a month in pay to install downloads, and that was up for 4 months, and then YouTube took it down for spam, quote unquote. And then when they took it down, you could like see like my sales like drop, like the sales graph like shifted down like $50 a month.
Yeah,
so
and then
I'm a huge fan of Reddit. It's been really, really good for at least for Don't Forget the Spoon, it's done really well.
nice. And do you have like a specific revenue targets or any kind of goal, or is this just more, hey, I enjoy this space and I want to work on a tool in it?
Yeah, really no revenue goal. I always joke like one day if me and my wife have kids, I'd be like, if you could pay for like childcare, or like
Yeah.
if it could pay for a monthly Rivian payment. I really want a Rivian one day. Like that would be fantastic. And it's been interesting because I have like, I feel like I'm one of the few people in the indie dev spot who enjoy their normal job, their day job.
Yeah.
I love my team, love the company I work for. So it's been a good balance where I can just do this on the side for fun and not really have to worry about like revenue. But hey, like obviously if it went huge, I'd be like super stoked. But
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would be
and
awesome.
let's talk about, you've got a second app. Remind me, it's Don't Forget the Weather or Don't Forget the
yep,
Umbrella?
don't forget the weather. So that's
Don't
kind of
Forget
a
the
newer
Weather.
one.
Okay.
It that one has an interesting story. It went like mini viral for like 24 hours in like Spain. Like it was like all of Spain was just like downloading it, and
What? It's
then
so
like
random.
it's yeah, super weird. It just like completely just like leveled off now, and it's not really doing a whole lot. I feel like I really just made it for myself. But it helps me plan hiking trips based on the
Yeah.
weather. It's kind of a really weird niche way to look at weather and just like how my brain works. Think of like Habitkit, but if it just showed weather. I know you had Sebastian on here
Yeah.
the other day, but like when I saw Sebastian's app, Habitkit, when I first saw that, my mind went to like weather, like that. I need to see weather in that view. Like this is awesome.
That's amazing.
So it's like a
So
GitHub commit graph, but all the little squares are like rain, snow, temperature, so on.
yeah, so it's essentially when you boot it up, there's a bunch of different cards you swipe through, and each card is like a different. So the first one is like clouds and precipitation chance, and each row is a day of the week, and each square is an hour of the day.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's a really visual way to see
Hmm.
weather trends through the week. And then you can swipe the card, and it changes all the squares to like temperature or like snowfall, and like so it's got all the wind, all that type stuff.
Gotcha. I have a super specific question. I think you're the perfect guy to answer for me. The thing I never know when I'm going on a backpacking trip, because I'm going in the Sierras up in the mountains of California, and believe
Ooh,
it or not, we do
it,
get some snow in California, is I never know what the active snowpack is where I'm going hiking. And that's
yeah.
like critical. Like, I need to know how much snow there is if I'm doing a snow trip or a regular trip.
Yeah,
And I just
yeah.
never
I
know where
can.
to find that. Where do you find that?
My favorite tool is an awesome app called Caltopo. And me and
Caltopo.
my wife, we actually every February we go backcountry snowshoe camping in Yosemite. So we love snow
Nice.
camping. And
Nice.
Caltopo is like a mapping app you can use to, it's a website and they have a good app now as well. You can use it to plan your backpacking trip. And I don't know if it's on the free version, I have the pro version, but there's different layers you can put on there. And one of them's weekly satellite imagery. So you can at
Nice.
least like, you may not get a good sense of if it's like an inch or a foot deep, but you can use the satellite imagery with kind of like the local weather, and it's fairly helpful.
Okay, yeah, that does actually sound pretty much perfect. Because I really just need to know, is it like snow or just patches kind of thing?
So for the plug for Don't Forget the Weather is the premium version does show snowpack levels.
Well, there you go.
I,
Interesting.
That's the right
Okay,
answer, isn't it?
okay.
Who cares about Caltopo? That's the right answer.
I will caveat haven't had a huge amount of time to test the snow levels in the app, but yeah, it's from the API provider that I use. But
Nice, nice. Yeah, and do you have any? I think you said you had a video game coming up, or is that
yeah,
right?
I got a couple things coming out. So we got a little Flutter
Okay.
sweatshop going on in the apartment right now.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
My wife's we've had a travel app idea we've been kind of working on the side, so that might come out soon to kind of make like curated like like the Lonely Planet books,
Yeah, totally.
like kind of like that, but make like an app version of it. But I want to like instead of writing all the articles, kind of work with like travel influencers and get their stuff
Yeah,
in there.
totally. Like locals for each
Yeah,
place. Yeah.
because like when I'm planning a vacation, I'm like we were in St. Lucia last year. I'm searching St. Lucia on YouTube, and I'm like, I want to see all this stuff on a map. So we're trying to do something with that right now. And then the game I just started coding this week, which will be more to come on that. But I might look at you guys for some testing sessions here shortly.
Can you
Sweet.
give us like a
Oh,
basic
super happy.
idea of like what type of game it is?
It's based off bingo.
It's a bingo. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
It's a
Huh.
bingo game. But
Okay.
it should hopefully be more fun. It'll be tied to,
Oh.
obviously, I like outdoors and travel and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, but now I want to do code review bingo, where it just like dumps you into a random open source project, and you have to play code review bingo with it, almost like GeoGuessr, where you have to like
It's
hop
like
around.
if you see like a global state container, then you like check it off on your bingo card. Is it like that kind of
Exactly.
thing? And there's all kinds of
That
stuff
would
like
be
that.
awesome.
Like a var where it could be final, you have to like check that off. Like all the bad Flutter patterns and all the good ones too.
Yeah. Oh man! All right, I've got ideas. I might have to work on this. I'm getting distracted here.
But yeah, never made a game before, so it should be kind of fun. I started doing some code this week on it. I'm hoping to get like a working thing out maybe in the next week or two,
Nice.
without any like in-app purchases or ads in there yet,
Yeah.
but just get the shell working.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And are you just using like vanilla Flutter to do that, or are you using something like Flame on top of it?
Just vanilla Flutter.
Yeah, because Casey did just vanilla Flutter for his
Yep.
game, and it worked out really well, right?
Yeah. Do you have Flutter Animate? Are you using that?
No.
Big fan. I would highly recommend it. It just has a bunch of like baked in basic effects, like a shake and so on. And the thing I really love about it is it has just generic widgets where you can wrap stuff and add an effect to it by wrapping it. But the huge win is it adds extension methods. So you can have your huge widget tree, and then you just slap extension methods at the ends of different widgets where it's like dot animate, dot, and then whatever effects you want to apply.
Cool.
And the biggest thing is it allows you to have a heavily animated widget tree that is still extremely readable, because there's a visual separation between raw UI code and then animation code. So it makes it really easy for your brain to just learn to ignore the animation code. Because if I just use like traditional widgets wrapping to animate, it becomes so big and nested so fast that you just
Yeah.
cannot read what's going on anymore.
Animations is something I really want to play with as well, and don't forget the spoon, as I don't
Yeah.
even have like a real swipe animation when you pack something. You swipe and like the packed thing just like pops up
Oh,
out of
man.
nowhere.
Yeah.
I think I just did like as you swipe up and down, the like floating action button will disappear now. That's like the one animation I put in there.
It's
But
a
I feel
key
like the
animation.
animations add like a professional degree in there where it doesn't look like someone's garage project.
Yeah.
So I really want to get into that as well. And
Well, I
feel
mean,
like
you
it's
call
needed
yourself
for the
a
game
Flutter
as well.
sweatshop, so like it's got to be a little janky, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, specifically on your list thing, I know Flutter has some videos on it. I haven't used it, and the Flutter built-ins can either be amazing or too rigid to actually successfully work with.
Yeah.
I think this might be the former case. I believe it's called list view dismissible or something like that, which is exactly what you're looking for as you're swiping something away, and you want it to like prettily animate out of the scene. Yeah, I mean, my killer animation setup is for anything where it's like user interaction driven. There's like draggable is the core thing, and then there's a couple things on top of it that are really nice, like list view dismissible. I could be misremembering the name, but it's something equivalent to that. Second one is implicit animations are killer. So like animated scale, animated align,
Animated container is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, those ones are killer, super useful. And that's when you need like, I find this happens a lot where I only want the animation to trigger if I've gone from state A to state B.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end up with a common problem of like, oh, I'm loading state B from state C. It's like, okay, no, then I don't want an animation. You can do a lot of that stuff really well with implicit widgets. And then the final one is Flutter Animate. It's kind of janky that you end up using 3 different systems that think about things in
Yeah.
different ways. But I don't mind, because I think each one really is a like meaningfully distinct use case, even though you could all just boil it down to quote unquote animations.
Yeah, I definitely want to put animations in the game. I got a specific one I want to try that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you want to add
I
sounds,
need
I
like a
would look.
slot machine like spinner.
Nice,
Sure.
nice. That'd be cool.
Another thing you can look at is Flutter So Loud if you want to put sound effects in, because I've spent like a decent amount of time with audio in Flutter, and Flutter So Loud is the only one that's like actually fast when it comes to latency and being able to do like add effects and stuff like that to it.
As someone whose phone is always on just silent and vibrate, I've actually never thought of
Never
putting
even thought
sounds
about
in
that.
So
Anyway, I'm just
that's-
telling you in case you decide to do it later. You can have it in your back pocket. How about that?
Slack pings like give me nightmares right now.
Yeah. Well, that's
know-
everybody. That's not just you.
We've talked on the show before about stuff that app developers don't get about their users. And I think I'm like hard in that category for this one. It sounds like you are too. I do not want sound in my app. Like, get that shit out of here. Get out of my way. My impression is that from just like seeing what competitors are doing, they all do sound and they lean on it really, really heavily. Same with vibration. It's like, no, get that the hell out of here. I don't want my phone to vibrate at me short of like notification pings or something like that. And then any even vaguely gamified app goes really hard on vibration. So I really need to do it for my app because I don't understand it. But if everybody is doing it, I feel like it must be resonating with users.
Yeah, you could do the Sebastian route, which is essentially you add vibrations and sound, but then you just put like a little checkbox in settings to turn it off.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need to let people turn it off for sure.
A good sound goes a long way, though. I'm trying to look at my phone. There's like, what's the Flutter super list? The super list has like, when you check off a task in super list, their little ding noise is just super pleasant.
Nice. The one I always worry about with like that high emotional impact stuff in a game or like a game-like app is a lot of times the easiest things to deliver a really strong emotional response for, like a strong vibration or a strong sound, are the negative outcomes. But that makes me scared because I don't want to just bombard you with like angry buzzer noises or something like that. It feels much harder to design and use a good ding than it is to use a good meh.
So I've noticed that in really high-end mobile games, they do not call out bad events at all. What they do is they cover them up with good events. So if you do something like get slaughtered in a game and then you like press thumbs down, then what they'll do is, or like you get slaughtered in a game, the game is over, they ask you if you like the game or not, and you press thumbs down. Then what they'll do is they'll show you like some sort of gift that you've already earned, but you haven't yet tapped on the thing to see that you've earned it. So it feels like they're giving you something, but it's actually something you already had, you just didn't know yet. And so they definitely like paper over like negative games or like negative experiences with like little gifts and stuff like that.
They don't want you to rage quit.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a really good one for this. The guys behind Marvel Snap have done a bunch of convention talks about the way they think about game design. There's like 1,000 spectacular nuggets in there, but one I really loved is they found that there's this consistently bad experience where the weaker player was just getting annihilated.
Yeah.
And they had, like, I forget the exact wording, but it was something like forfeit or quit or something like that. And users felt really negative about forfeiting, so they would drag out a bad game. And so they're really put between a rock and a hard place. So they drag out a miserable game where they're not having fun. Or did they do this really emotionally painful thing of saying, haha, I suck, I'm a loser, I'm going to click forfeit? Like, nobody wants to do that. So they just tweaked it a little, and I forget the exact wording. I believe they modeled it as
like play retreat. Again or something?
It was retreat. And the cool thing with it was you could stem your losses. You lost some like in-game currency if you lost a game. That loss wasn't as bad if you clicked retreat rather than losing directly. So they turned giving up into like a smart strategic decision on an emotional level. And
that's really interesting.
At least according to them, like really, really improved sentiment when playing the game, particularly in the negative outcomes, and reduced rage quits.
It's amazing how much app development is just psychology. Right?
Yeah.
We should all go back to school and get psych degrees. And
yeah, like Casey was talking about how certain apps are just like Skinner boxes.
Yeah. Let's explain this one for the audience, just because this is, once again, I'm going to keep saying this. I've said it a few times on the show before. Like, game dev is 1,000 light years ahead of app dev. We're like idiot losers compared to those guys. They know what they're doing, and there's so much to learn from them. And one they talk about a lot is a Skinner box. It's used fairly derogatorily. I think there's a slightly nicer way to put it. But the origins is, and I'm going to horribly butcher the details, so forgive me, everybody. But there's a researcher named Skinner, and I don't know the details of the experiment, but the gist of it was he trained rats to associate a positive feeling with pressing a button by giving them a reward, and then over a certain schedule with certain conditions to make this come about, he removed the reward, but the rats kept having positive responses from pushing the button itself. And once again, I probably horribly butchered the details, but the broad picture and the way I've seen it used in the game design community is if you can create essentially a progress bar or a button press or something where there is no like actual meaningful concrete reward, but you make pushing that button, you make increasing that number feel so emotionally satisfying that just the number going up in and of itself becomes a reward to users. And
Strava does that really well.
Strava
does?
Yeah. Which parts? Because embarrassingly, I've hardly used Strava.
They have like a fitness number that like basically is calculated on like your heart rate / your rest over time.
It's like the total strength score.
Watching this magical, like probably non-meaningful number go up, or when it goes down, like I need to go to the gym or go for a run.
It's really funny because at Tonal we had something called, when I was working at Tonal, there was something called strength score, and it was this like, from the outside looking in, it was this kind of vague number that like had to do with like maybe how much weight you could lift in like certain movements. But there was also some like other like magic that was going on behind the scenes. And one of our data scientists put together this way to have people create like a custom workout, but you could like have different settings for what you wanted the custom workout generated to do. And one of them was like increase your strength score as much as possible. And it turned into this thing where like the community was like, or no, sorry, we didn't release to the community. I should back that up. Internally, people were using this feature, and they were like, dude, this feels like crack, because it's like, you just like press this button, it gives you this random workout that doesn't make sense, and then you use it, and your strength score skyrockets, and it's literally like the operant conditioning chamber, like Skinner box phenomenon, but like applied to fitness.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a bit derogatorily used, Skinner box, and I should probably have a little more self-awareness, but hearing these stories just makes me want to get really good at building Skinner boxes.
Yeah, right. Or like Mike was saying, we should just all go back and get like psychology degrees.
Yeah. Psychology and game dev. Maybe it's like a joint course or something.
I'm a huge Malcolm Gladwell fan, for those who like reading about psych. Like his book Blank, I feel like I got to reread that and tie that into game development.
Man,
I'm not familiar, but I'm gonna go check it out. I'm looking at him right now.
Same.
Blank. Well, he's got a lot of books that would actually tie into this. So he's got Tipping Point, which is super fascinating, like psychology of like what makes products go over like the tipping point and go viral. But Blank is the psychology of your subconscious brain basically making decisions without you realizing it's making decisions. And one of the like great examples, like experiments he gives in there's like this game that they tested on people, and it has 2 card decks, and you grab a card from one or the other deck, and it's either gives you points or takes away points. And one of the deck is weighted to be worse than the other. And basically, as a human going through, you got to try and figure out which like deck is harder or worse because you want to win. And essentially, they have the participants hooked up to all these sensors, and the bad deck, the person like way before they mentally realize it's the bad deck, their heart rate is escalating. They start sweating as they reach to the bad deck versus the good deck, and it's really fascinating. But one of my favorite authors got a lot.
So
of
it's like their body knows before like their mind knows almost, or like their subconscious knows before their conscious mind knows. That's crazy.
I'm like, how can you tie that into your dribble game there, Casey?
Yeah. My mind's racing the back of my head. Okay, what am I doing here? What am I adding?
That's so funny. Cool.
Sweet. Well, I think we're reaching time here. Thanks a lot for coming on, Mike.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah.
Good to finally meet you guys in person.
Do you have stuff you want to close out? Stuff you really want to shout out? We'll, of course, put your apps and your blog in the show notes and all that.
No, yeah, just don't forget the spoon, don't forget the weather, and you can find me CodingMarine on Twitter or X. I still don't call it X, I still call it Twitter.
Of course,
everybody calls it Twitter.
And if you
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you like outdoor stuff, check out the blog 10-Digit Grid as well. So.
And I didn't get to saying this earlier. I wanted to mention, Don't Forget the Spoon is almost the perfect app for me because I love backpacking. I'm really disorganized, but I resent organization, and I make a sport out of being as unprepared as possible for backpacking trips. I'm not quite the right target.
It's actually the perfect target for me because I do outdoor trips every now and then, and I have just like a box of gear, and depending on the season, depending on what I'm trying to do, it really affects what I'm going to bring with me. And I always wanted this concept of like checking gear in and then checking it out like when I leave a place. And so I always used to just do this on like 3x5 note cards, but I would love to give Don't Forget the Spoon a try because I think that it would help a lot.
Well, I'm always open to your feedback. You peer pressured me to make some onboarding and put the paywall in
That's
there.
true, I did.
Which I think helped drive some of those subscriptions.
Oh, good. I'm glad that it worked out. Last thing, Mike, before we go, is there anyone you want to nominate to come on the podcast? This is either somebody that you want to hear from or somebody you think would be a good fit.
Thinking interesting. Is it? I'm gonna butcher his name. I gotta look it up. Is it Victor Hesselbaum?
I'm not familiar with him. Is he on Twitter?
Victor Hesselbaum. Yeah, he's on Twitter and he builds ironically I don't own one, but he builds apps for the iWatch, which I think is kind of an interesting space. He does a fitness app called Watchalytic, and I really like following him on Twitter. I don't think we've really personally conversed back and forth, but it'd just be kind of maybe a little bit different talking about apps on a watch versus apps on a phone.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you for the nomination. We really appreciate it.
No worries.
Cool.